Here today with James Shelton, the new athletic director, head football coach for your Sanderson Eagles. How are you doing today, Coach?
Man, I'm blessed, brother. Blessed. It's beautiful, beautiful day outside.
Now, your number one factor in determining where you coach is the scenery, right?
That's correct. That's correct. If you look at my stops, I gotta have a beautiful scenery when I walk outside my office every day.
All right. So one of the things we try to do in these interviews is kind of go through that, the path of a coach. So if you don't mind, walk us through from your first assistant coaching job to where you are now.
Okay. Well, as you may know, I graduated from Texas A&M and got my degree over there in College Station, and I was able to, while I was at A&M, I got to volunteer, I guess you could call it, coach for a homeschool program who had just started a 6-man program over there. Met a gentleman. He knew I played, wanted me to come coach, knew I was going to get into coaching. So I did that for 2 years there in College Station. When I graduated, I took over as a defense coordinator at Calvert in 2015. We had a heck of a run there, went undefeated. Ended up getting upset by Eddie Gallegos and Jonesboro in the third round. But from then we decided, you know what, let's go see what a mountain looks like in Texas. So we, the family and I, we Zoom called, interviewed at Fort Davis, Texas, got the defense coordinator position over there. Never had been out to West Texas my entire life, and took the job over a Zoom call. They had a house for me, so we drove out there, moved there. Again, I always had my sights set really high and wanting to be an AD and a head football coach. And so I knew that assistant wasn't going to be where I wanted to be forever. John Fellows over at Alpine decided to give me a shot as an assistant with him. I wanted to check out, just see the difference between different programs, different ADs, how they ran a program, because I knew my future was going to be held by being an AD and head football coach. It's what I always wanted. I knew that's what I was going to do. And so being able to go through a couple stops and see how different ADs ran their ship, good, bad, ugly, beautiful, I picked out all the pieces that I wanted to do. And, I had planned for the longest to stay in Alpine just because I really enjoyed working under John Fellows. I was learning a lot. But I got a phone call from Buckholz ISD, which is where I graduated high school from. It's where I grew up. It's where my home today is built. Asked me to come back, take over as an AD head football coach. It was going to be my first AD gig. Didn't think I'd go back there that fast, that's for sure. I was 23 years old when I signed the paperwork on that one. And but ever since then, it's been beautiful. I've had a really good time. Did 2 years at Buckholz. I got the opportunity to go private school in the TAPS area. Did that for 2 years with Holy Trinity. That was super awesome. Had a great time there. But let me say 2 months ago, I guess you could say, I got a call from Sanderson, and they gave me the opportunity for me and my family to come out and take over here in Sanderson in the middle of the mountains. And ever since I went to Fort Davis, I was just, like you said, I was in love with the scenery. I'm in love with the small town atmosphere, the people, the close down the town on Friday night because we're all at the stadium kind of atmosphere. Growing up in Buckholz, playing 6-man football since the day I could walk, that's what I live for. I live for that small town atmosphere that, football is God and everything is beautiful. And so I've really enjoyed it. I'm excited to be here in Sanderson. We got a lot of great things coming ahead of us. And so, yeah, man, I've been here about a month now. I was excited they let me come in early. They wanted me to get used to the kids, let the kids, know me, get an off-season program going, a summer workout, summer camps for the little kids. And so we've got that full steam ahead right now.
Now, when you're the AD head football coach at a 6-man program, you're not just the head football coach at a 6-man program. You are a little bit of everything. It's the kind of community where they don't ask you if you're going to the football game on Friday night. They tell you what time the game is.
Correct. Correct.
So just kind of walk through. You've been around a lot of 1A small town programs. Just kind of let people know what that role is. I mean, I've seen you MC events at Holy Trinity. I mean, just kind of let them know what the role of of an administrator of any sort at one of these really small programs.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, all the way from my first actual teaching job at Calvert, I went in as a 21-year-old kid straight out of college, and I taught 6 different preps. I was I was defense coordinator. I was girls head basketball coach, powerlifting coach, head track coach, did UIL for history, did morning duty, lunch duty, you name it. And that was all as an assistant. Turn around to become an AD, and, the hats just keep on piling on. You go from, again, athletic director, head football, you typically are doing something with basketball, track. You've got to be at all these games for the girls program, for the boys program, for the junior high program. You become the disciplinarian of the school, because that's just how it, works in a small town school, because everybody knows coach. Mom and daddy all got coach's phone numbers. So, they're calling me all day long. You become the admin on duty for all the girls, all the boys. It's just you typically, and so you're driving the bus, you're driving field trips, you name it, you're doing it at a small town school, especially a 1A. Shoot, I've been here a month, and I kid you not, they already got me umpiring the Little League games down the street on Mondays and Tuesday nights, because I'm the AD, and that's something they asked me to do. So of course I jumped on it. But yeah, definitely a lot of hats as an AD in a 1A school.
But by definition, a 1A school is 104 and a half kids or less. How many, do you know how many teachers, or approximately how many teachers are at Sanderson?
Teachers?
Yeah.
I don't have a number for you, man. I would probably say teachers as a whole, from kindergarten to 12th grade, you're probably looking at maybe 12 to 15 teachers if on a good day, maybe. I think that's a high number probably.
Yeah. So everybody's got to do a little bit of everything to make it work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Nobody's doing just one thing in a 1A school. That's for sure.
Now, you're a really young guy, but, well, not but you're a really young guy as the AD. You're also in a role of being a mentor to the coaches that work for you there previously at your previous stops, but now at Sanderson. Talk a little bit about that maybe kind of unique dynamic there of being so young, but also being a mentor.
Absolutely. So, the thing that I learned being an AD and as an assistant is, open your ears more than your mouth. And so what using that, I just really learned, especially being a young AD, like you said, because, actually this is my first job that I actually have a coach who is younger than me on the staff. I've actually always been the youngest kid, the youngest guy on the staff, even though I'm the AD and every one of my AD jobs. And so it's very interesting because you have to learn a different dynamic, because here's the deal is in today's society, when it comes to high schools, especially small schools, is, as a young coach, I can relate to these kids a lot easier than some of the more experienced coaches in the game. And so having some of these assistants who are older than me, it really helps me the only thing I'm really teaching them is how to adapt to these kids nowadays. I get to listen more to those guys, and I learn just as much from them as they're learning from me. And so being able to mentor them in that way, just as they're mentoring me through the experience wise, because I am a young coach. I've been in the game, going on 9 years now. And so, I do have a lot to learn when it comes to through experience. And I have a ton of amazing mentors, especially out here in West Texas, that have really taken me under the wing. But as a young coach, I'm able to mentor my coaches in the way of relationships and relating to the younger generations, because they're not the same as even when I grew up, more or less when they were growing up playing ball. And so, and I think that's really huge because it helps them get a different dynamic in their coaching as well, the same way I'm picking up from them the old school ways as well.
All right, let's talk a little football. So you've been out there a month, which means you've probably seen everybody that's going to be on your football team 8 hours a day. So the month you've been out there. So tell us what you've got. What do you think of your team for 2022?
Well, I'm excited. I'm real excited. I took this job, with a grain of salt, I guess you could say. Sanderson Eagle football is tradition and sixth man to the extreme. Everybody knows the pit. Our football field is one of the most famous fields in all of six-man football, more or less 11-man football in the state of Texas. And, everybody knows Vance Jones was here and ran the ship and has just tradition as high as it could possibly be. So the expectations are so high, but I crave that. I love that. And so coming in, I'd already seen all the film from the last 3 years from, every game they had before I signed on the dotted line. Man, I'm excited. These boys fit my system, I think, better than anybody that I've ever coached when it comes to just athleticism, just drive that the kids have. They really do fit my system and what I do as an AD. And so just on the football side of it, I'm beyond excited. We've got they only lost one senior from last year, and so on the starting 5 or 6, so we got 5 starters coming back on both sides of the ball. Got a real good little freshman group coming up, some real young guys. We'll have a really good, solid senior class who is going to jump in now. Which again, why I bring up, I'm excited that I got here so early, because they're able to start my off-season program, my summer program, my 6-on-6 in the summer, and they're gonna know what's coming for them before we even get started. And whereas if I would have started, come late June or even May, I wouldn't have had that opportunity quite as much. And so I'm excited where we're at. We're in a great district out here. I got to get ready to drive again, because boy, I think they said our schedule puts us at like the second most mileage in the state of Texas on what we have to travel for football games. And so we got to go back out to Sierra Blanca this year. So that's a heck of a drive from Sanderson. But we're excited. The boys are excited. The program's excited. And I think I think it's going to show at the end of the football season for sure.
Now you mentioned 6-on-6. A lot of people familiar with 7-on-7, which is basically a passing competition for the 11-man school. Talk a little bit about 6-on-6, which is sort of the 6-man version of 7-on-7.
Hey, absolutely. I am the biggest 6-man promoter of 6-on-6 during the summer. It's just like 7-on-7 in the 11-man game, except it's just one less guy. It's a passing league. It's a defending league. There is no rushing. And what it does, I think, is it really gives these boys the opportunity to never stop throughout the year. It gets them out there. Even if you're a running team, I know a lot of running coaches who are, downhill coaches who love 6-on-6 because it gives their team a different dynamic, not just, but offensively, but defensively as well. Because again, I tell people all the time, if you're going to play me, you might want to come play me in 6-on-6, because if you can defend us passing the ball, all summer, then you'll be pretty successful against me during the year. Because I'm an air raid guy, it really, really helps my philosophy and the way that I run my offense. So we do 6-on-6 all summer. West Texas is not quite as into it as Central Texas is, but I have contacted lots of coaches in the surrounding areas, and we're ready to drive this summer. And we will be competing at least once a week this summer, doing 6-on-6. So we're very excited about that. And I encourage all six-man schools to get in 6-on-6 in the summer. It helps your program tremendously, for sure.
Now mentioned it there a little bit, but even if you're a run-oriented team, your opponents aren't going to necessarily be run-oriented. So you have to develop the pass coverages and the defensive teams. And even if it's not a tremendous help for your offense, it keeps several things to it. But it gives you the chance to develop those things on defense. But it's also your kids are, if you want to say, forced to be together.
Absolutely.
Which happens a lot anyway in a 6-man town. But still, it's the 4-hour drives. It just helped develop that camaraderie.
Oh, absolutely. It goes all the way back to our family atmosphere, and our philosophy is just, being together, loving one another. Hey, look, you're stuck, it don't matter if you like them, you hate them, you're stuck with them for the entire football season. And so we're going to be a close bonded family, because that produces success on the football field every time, no matter what. And so like I said, I like to keep them together pretty much all year long, as much as we can possibly be, whether it be through Saturday morning breakfast, film training, Thursday night team dinners, like I said, long bus rides all summer, 6-on-6 and weight programming. And we do weights and conditioning 4 days a week throughout the summer. And so they're always seeing me, I'm always seeing them. But here's the big thing, in these small towns, not a lot of people know this, but there's 2 or 3 of those kids who that's what they wake up for. That's what they're excited about, because they don't want to be home. There's nothing at home for them. And so coming up there is the best part of the day. And so that right there is why I do it. And so I can, because I was that kid. I was excited to go every day to summer workouts. I was excited to go, do stuff like 6-on-6 in the summer, because, I didn't want to be home, all the time. And I didn't have the best home life growing up at all. And so being able to be a young coach, being able to relate to some of these kids who are in that same situation as I am, is every success that I can ask for over the wins and losses. And so that's why we do it. Absolutely.
All right, Coach, thanks a lot for your time today, and best of luck.